The other thing, of course, very important thing is the style. And uh, well, Tyro travel writers, so those or beginners, let's say, they tend to use too many adjectives. This is actually one of the most common boo-boos, travel writers make. They send that the more adjectives you put in a sentence or to a poor noun, noun is already kind of suffocating, breathing heavily, and the burden of these adjectives. No, they still more and more and more. The church was beautiful and stunning and amazing and so on. And most of these adjectives don't mean anything for the reader, because beauty and ugliness actually is in the eyes of the beholder. So if you say the church is beautiful, well, it means what do you think is beautiful? You may think that St. Basil's Cathedral in Moscow is beautiful, yeah. Whereas in fact, other people think that it's an architectural mess, completely hectic. But so it's all very kind of individual tastes differ. So how do you describe them? And this is very important, because if you cannot describe, you cannot write, basically. Jerome K. Jerome, such a great English British writer, which again is much more, he was for some reason much more popular in Russia than he is in Britain. He was an extremely good stylist, by the way. And in one of his books, Three Men and a Bummel, he actually said the descriptions never work in literature. Well, he gives a couple of very funny examples. So how can you describe? My answer is describe via interaction of a place or an object you want to describe with yourself. Again, come back to this poor little church. So this little church in the kind of distance was very beautiful. No, this doesn't work. But the church, and I can now see that very church, which I think probably I could observe while lost in the same Liechtenstein and looking down the valley. There was a little church there which was so graceful and fragile that you felt like putting it on the palm of your hand and taking it home to London with you. And here suddenly the church comes to life. Yeah, the church comes to life and starts having some kind of meaning, and yeah, the reader can see it very clearly. For example, you can say the window of my hotel room was facing the beach or facing the sea, and so on. So what does it mean? It doesn't really mean much at all, because it's kind of a dead picture. That's it. Well, the sea is silent, so the whole picture is completely kind of shut down, I would say, like shops now in high streets in most of our towns, unfortunately. But if you say that I was falling asleep to the gentle murmurs of the surf behind the windows of my hotel room, this is different. This is suddenly, they imagine you trying to fall asleep, and suddenly the sea starts whispering something, starts saying, comes to life, and so on. The other thing is a very important thing is getting your reference points right. Yeah, because if you say, for example, I woke up at 6 o'clock a.m., again, how the hell did you know it was 6, not 6:30, and so on? That's a very, very common mistake. So you have to provide a reference point, so it's much better to split the sentence into kind of several and say, I woke up and looked at my watch. It was 6 a.m. I got dressed and went out into the deck. That's that's suddenly kind of, you can see some pictures from real life. As for the adjectives, well, someone said, one of my favorite Russian poets said that about sentimentality, that a poet should be a very experienced pharmacist and put only one or two drops of sentimentality into his poem. I would say the same about adjectives. So you have to portion control them very, very thoroughly. And if you use two adjectives, which is not recommended, but well, sometimes you have to, then one of them should be kind of qualitative and the other quantitative. Yes, for example, it's, talking about the same Mount Essos and describing the monastery of Simona Petra. Uh, it was a 14th century skyscraper sitting on a tower-like rock high above the sea. The monastery's guest quarters were situated along the perimeter of the top of the monastery building. To get to the bathroom, one had to pass through a circular terrace clinging to the monastery walls. This frail wooden scaffolding, you see, frail uh, is quantitative and qualitative, basically. Wooden scaffolding was precariously suspended above the bottomless precipice. It shook under your feet like an unsteady ship deck during a sea storm. Through gaps between squeaky floorboards sagging under your feet, sharp black rocks licked by the foamy sea were clearly visible a good 100 meters below. In short, it was an ideal place for committing suicide, even if you didn't feel particularly suicidal. It was also ideal for deterring you from using the bathroom too often. So basically, sharp black rocks. That's another kind of example. You can use two adjectives, but if you look back at this description, you will see that it's mostly just one adjective. But have to be you have to try to be as precise as possible with it.